Have you heard that saying, well boys, I sent her a little too hard? Well, I did. Watch this clip. Alright guys, so I broke my drive shaft, and I've got with Kawasaki, got another drive shaft, and I'm going to install it. So guys, I looked on YouTube, all over YouTube, like most of us do. You know, we're certified YouTube mechanics, and when something goes bad, we look on YouTube to find out how to fix it. Well, all I found was videos saying I done this and I done that and I done this, but not people actually showing you what they done. So that's what I want to do different on my video. I'm going to show you, actually put wrench on bolts and take the bolts out and go step by step. Have I ever done this? No. Will I learn a lot? Yes. So the book time, as far as Kawasaki is concerned, is 4 hours and 4.5 hours, I think, or 4.75. Anyway, under 5 hours. That's for a trained professional. I'm expecting it to take me probably 2 days, but we'll see. Alright guys, I cheated. I used a tractor. If you've ever jacked one of these up, there's a lot of suspension that has to go before you get the tires off the ground. So I cheated and used a tractor. If not, you just have to jack it up the best way you can and get jack stands under it where the front end is off the ground. The front wheels can't be touching for this. I also got me a table out here so I can lay my tools out. And guys, I don't have a garage, so I'm doing this in the yard. So kind of shade tree style. But I don't have a shade tree, so I'm gonna put a canopy up because it's hot out here. All right, first thing we gotta do is take the shocks off. And I'm just gonna go ahead and take both shocks, or either the tire. And you know what, let me back up. I gotta take the tires, the shocks, all a bunch of other stuff out, so I'm gonna start with the tires first. So we'll take the tires off, and then we'll go from there. First thing I'm gonna do is take my tire off. This has got little washers behind here too you need to keep up with if you ever take your front tire off. I'll show you. There's the washers I'm talking about. Got one on each stud. All right, now I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with this tire. Since I don't have jack stands, and this will probably actually be better anyway, I'm gonna lay this tire and another tire and rim on top of it underneath the side by side. That way if it falls, it won't go all the way to the ground, it just fall on the tires. Let me show you. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Remember I said, don't lose one of those washers? I lost one. I can't find it nowhere. Oh me, that's awesome. Anyway, so I'll look at the footage and see if we find that work fell off in the grass. I don't know. But anyway, I might be going to Kawasaki to get a washer. I know I'm kind of bouncing around, but that's kind of what I do. So I'm gonna take the winch out. It's gotta come out. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it out now. I'm not going to show this, but I'm going to disconnect the battery cable. So I'm on the negative battery cable, just to make sure that I don't fry something. I'm hoping that this is where I take this bad boy out. At least it's a start. So there's 4 of these bolts. I'll take those out and catch you up in a minute. Okay, this is gonna be hard to show, but there's two bolts. There's one right here, and I got my ratchet on my extension and socket on one, and then on the back side, I don't know if it'll focus, I got my wrench on it on the back. That looks like that's where the plate goes for the winch. I'm gonna take it off and see if I'm right or wrong. Like I said, I'm not an expert, and we're gonna learn together on this. Well, they wouldn't tight. All right, I'm gonna take those off and then catch you up. Okay, I have the tow hooks, and it came with different bolts when I put the tow hooks on. So this bolt right here is a 15mm socket, fits it. It may not be like that if you don't have those, but anyway, and these other ones I've been taking off is a 14. Looks like this goes through to the plate, the winch plate as well, so I'm gonna have to take these off. Okay, here on the passenger side is the cables for the winch, and I've already loosened this. Now I see this has got a little rust on it, so when I put this back together, I'm gonna fill this boot full of dielectric grease to try to keep that from being bad. But anyway, these are a 10mm wrench fit this, and the bottom is the negative and the top is the hot. I'm not sure if it shows. It looks like a yellow wire. Blue on the bottom. I'm gonna try to remember that. Yours might be different, but just remember to have some way of knowing. And when I take these bolts off, or this nut off, I'm gonna put it right back on my stud so that I don't lose it, because I am terrible about losing stuff. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the top. Yeah, definitely need to put some kind of grease on that. Alright, I'm gonna do the same thing with the top. And it's got a little boot that you have to work the boot to get it off of. And something else I done, I got a little worried, scared if you want to call it, for lack of a better term. So I went ahead and took off my negative and positive cable. Getting that boot off is kind of tricky. I got it. And that's the main reason I took my battery cable off, is because I was looking, and that's so close to touching that, and when I get the wrench in here, I sprayed, it might have hot on it and me ground it out somewhere. You don't want that. So alright, I'm gonna take that off. Okay, well, my tire's off. This thing is really low to the ground here. We quit bouncing. It's really low. So what that's doing is created a big angle here so my winch can't slide out. Now, do I know for sure the winch slides out that way? No, I don't. But that's the way I'm gonna try to take it out. So I'm gonna leave the winch where it is now. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move to my shocks, take my shocks and take some of this other stuff out, then slide my winch out and get to my front diff. So, and by the way, everything I've read and seen, and even the Kawasaki manual that I got a peek of, you have to take the diff out to change the drive shaft. Okay, so to take the shocks out, I don't know if I have to have the spring tool or not, but I'm gonna try it without it. We'll see how that goes. So I'm gonna take this bolt out right here, which is a 17 wrench and socket. I'm gonna actually put the impact on it, and up top is 2 more bolts. I'm gonna take the front one off first, or the bottom one off first, to see what kind of tension I have on it, and kind of brace for impact, I guess. Let's see. Pretty tight. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm putting just some tension on it and screwing it out. Alright. No tension at all on it. Put these back in it so I can keep up. You know what? Just figured something else out. FedEx truck coming by. I'm just gonna tie this out of the way. Yeah, I'm not taking the top out. Alright, so I got me a black trucker strap, hooked on my mirror, hooked it around the shock, and got it up out of the way. I think that's gonna be pretty daggone good right there. Shouldn't be no issue. I'm glad I took the bottom out first. Okay, so I noticed I got some tension on my brake line. I slid it out some. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this bolt off to kind of free that line up where I'm not putting unnecessary tension on that. And then I'm gonna take my sway bar off. And once I take my sway bar off, then I'm gonna come up here and take these bolts out right here. And I got 4 like that on the bottom. And I should be able to take this arm out and pry or snatch the axle out. Also, somewhere before I get all that done, I'm gonna have to drain it. I might go ahead and start doing that now. Alright, so I'm underneath it looking at it, and I got the full skid plate. I don't know if you could tell, and I'm underneath it looking at it. So I gotta take this plate off. I was draining the fluid from my front diff, so right here is the access point for that. So I thought while I'm under here, I'm gonna go ahead and take these off too, and it looks like about 8 screws holds it in with an Allen wrench. So I'm gonna go ahead and take those off. Not gonna bore you with it, just putting an Allen wrench in there and taking them out. So taking this inspection panel, the front part of the skid plate, whatever you want to call it, off, I got 2 bolts in there. Right here's one of them, and I can't get it out for this bumper. Then I got to looking, there ain't but 2 more bolts holds the bumper on, so I'm just gonna take the bumper off. Hey, if you're gonna do it right. So on this little brake line bolt, it's just a little 10mm wrench fits that. Alright, I'm not gonna bore you with that. I'm gonna go ahead and take that out. Here on my sway bar, that's a 14mm. Yeah, maybe. Nope. Alright, I got a washer state on the inside. Put my nut back on this too. Something else I done is I put all my bolts that went to my winch in a Ziploc bag and put them separate. You know, I don't even know what this piece is called. A-arm maybe, I don't know. But anyway, the top one, the bolts in there, it takes a 17mm socket or wrench or both on here, and I had to put the socket on this side, ratchet on this side, and brace it against this. And then I got me another wrench and doubled in on it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Like that to give me leverage. And I pulled up pretty hard to break those loose. So I gotta do that 4 more times to get this side out. Okay, so I decided that I've got to take this off. Okay, so I took my nut off. It was a 22mm fitted. Alright, once I got it off, this was stuck in here pretty good like it's supposed to be. So I actually put my washer back on it, put my nut on, inside out, upside down I should say. We'll pretend like the washer's on it, which you don't have to have the washer on it, but that's what I did. I put the nut all the way up, almost flush with the bottom of my stud here. I'm sorry that wasn't in frame. And then I took a hammer and smacked that real hard from this way, and that broke it loose. So then we'll pull that out. Alright, I'll try to recreate this as best I can. These arms on the bottom right here were in these grooves. Okay, so I worked and got them loose, got them where they fell down on the ground. Then all that was left was my axle in here. So then I reached in there and grabbed my axle and just gave it a hard pull, and it come right out. So guys, we're getting there. I gotta do the other thing, same thing on the other side, I believe. I would like to not have to, but looks like I am going to have to. Oh, and I can pull my winch out now. It should come right out. Alright, I was wrong on my winch. Right here is the mounting plate that goes to the machine. And then it's hard to see, but in here, on the other side of this, is 4 screws. So I'm gonna have to take our bolts, I'm gonna have to take those bolts out off of the mounting plate, then get the winch out. Okay, so this cover's got to come off to allow this bolt to come out. I hope that's showing up on there. So this is a number 3 Phillips head, and I'll probably have to take that off to disconnect wires anyway, but that's what I got to do to get these wires out. Then I'll just take all this off. I'm taking it all off just like I done on the other side. I took that cover off and look in the mud. That's bad. I got here and this plug, I just couldn't get it unplugged for nothing, but I had mud packed in it, and it's so simple. And when I finally figured it out, you just squeeze it and pull it out. Look, thing right there is what you move when you squeeze it. But that whooped my butt. One bolt I couldn't get out of my skid plate right here, inspection plate, whatever you want to call it, in the front. But I'm still able to get to it, so it's no biggie. What I'm doing, there's my front diff. I've got all my wires unplugged, and I believe that I'm ready to take this out. But there's 4 bolts that go up underneath the bottom, and there's holes that where you can get it there lined up to them. And I'm gonna take them out. Then I hope set my diff out. We'll see. The struggle is real. I've got it turned around backward, almost out, but not out. Lord. Up in here with it. Come on, I'll bring you with me. Ooh, that's a plastic right there. Gotta be careful with that. That's a switch. Oh, a switch. Got to be a combination to get this out. Well, that's so close. I wonder if I can get my drive shaft out right there. My God. My God, there's got to be a way. I'm gonna keep wrestling with it. Maybe you guys won't laugh at me for anymore trying to get this out. I hope you don't never have to go through this. Okay guys, so I got it figured out. I'm out of breath still. I turned it, I got it out, turned it, and then there's a black piece, this plastic piece on the other side, a big piece like that big. I'll show you that. That's the actuator for the 4-wheel drive. So I turned it where it was up, and then I brought it right on through the hole. Actually, it wasn't bad once I figured that out. All right, got that out. I'll show you the black piece I'm talking about. Right there. Got that up and then rolled and come out to me. I should have recorded this, but I didn't. What I had to do was go in from the back and push my drive shaft to the front a little bit, reach in, grab the end of it and fish it through the hole. Then when I got up here, I still had to work it to get it out the front. There she is. Look at that brake. Just like you cut it. Okay, so here's what's left of my old drive shaft. This is where it broke. Just a clean cut. I say cut, it's a break, but it looks like a cut. And I laid these out here side by side for one to see if I could tell the difference in them, because they said this is a third part number that Kawasaki has as far as the drive shafts go. But I really don't see a difference in them. But anyway, I have figured out that there is a rear. This is the rear side, and the front side is a little shorter right here. So I'm gonna take this, put it on there, and then I gotta get this, take these bolts out and get this out to put it back together. Okay, so we're gonna see how easy this is to get out. I just noticed something, that once I get this loose, if I can't pull this out, well, it's already loose, so it'll come out fine. I was gonna say I could take and stick something through there and tap it out, but my U-joints seem fine. So let me go ahead and loosen this. It's tight. It's kind of difficult to get the right leverage on it. Ah, boy, it was on there. The book calls for a special kind of solvent. Not solvents, but lubricant to put on here. So I actually went to the AutoZone and bought that for like $5 for a tub of it. It's a nice hammer right there. And anytime I'm beating on a bolt, I make sure I have the nut on it so I'm not damaging my threads. Plenty of mud in there. Comes right out. So the bolt, once it goes in here, this bolt goes through this hole right here. Where I'm not blocking it, goes through this hole, and the bolt lays in this groove to keep it in place. So I'm actually going to get something and clean this up and get ready for my lube. Okay, so the grease contains this, that word right there. And I don't even know how to say that. Molly something, so I think they call it Molly for short. So this is what I got. I hope I'm right, but that's what I got in trying it. And it's like mainly for metal to metal parts is the way I understand it. So that's what I'm using to lube it. So the grease kind of looks grayish blue. It's pretty interesting if you ask me. So what I'm gonna do is just get my finger full and kind of poke it in there and get it in there. It also says this grease is like really waterproof. Then I'm gonna put some on my spline. I know you can't see that, but I'm just rubbing it on the spline. And then I'm just putting it on there. Now, I don't know if it's supposed to be timed. In fact, I'm gonna, before I get too happy here, I'm gonna do a little research and find out. All right, so what I have is a handy dandy tool here. I'm holding that straight, kind of bumping it in place. And I should know if it's in place or not, if the bolt will go in. And it won't, so I gotta figure out if I'm too far out or too far in. But you play with that, because what we're doing is lining it up on this groove right here. That's what we're doing, lining it up on that groove in that shaft. So this might take a minute. I'm not gonna bore you with it. I'm just gonna hammer it back and forth until I get it where to go in. So instead of like hammering back and forth, what I decided to do, I have my old one here, so I held it up against it and looked, and it looks like I might be just a little bit too far with it. So I'm gonna bring it out to a little bit, and that should line it right up. All right, see, on this end, it's a little rubber boot. I guess that just keeps the dirt and grime out of it. Then there's a spring. I'm gonna take that spring off, and it looks the same both ways. I'm gonna set it off to the side. There's a washer. We'll take that washer and pull it off. And then right in here is a snap ring. And I don't have a snap ring pliers. So I'm gonna fight that, get that off. So if you start to do this job, get you a set of snap ring pliers, small set right there. So I got my boot on, I cleaned it out real good, and I lubed it up, and I got my snap ring back in place. Now I have to clean my washer up, put it on first, clean my spring up, and put that on. And this just kind of rides. It doesn't lock in place like the back does. It just kind of, it's got to have some movement back and forth. All right, so I got my drive shaft together. I got my bolt out that holds it in the back. And now I'm gonna put it in from the front. I'm having to roll it to kind of get it lined up right. And then I'm gonna have to feed it through and figure out what it's hitting on. So I'm gonna work it in, try to get it back where it's supposed to go. Let's see what I'm up against. There's another tunnel back there it's got to go through. I might end up having to take that off. Nope, I hit it. And I'm just spinning it and helping it go through. Probably gonna take it back out. Take that shaft off. Put it back on the thing. See, because it hangs down, that's the problem. And I'm filling it full of dirt. Yeah, let me back up and regroup. Okay, so now I'm gonna take this off, put it on my machine, then put the drive shaft through. It should be a lot easier. All right, I'm going ahead and apologize for not being able to film that, but that right there was a difficult task because there just wasn't no room in there, and I definitely couldn't get a camera in there at the same time. The biggest problem was that bolt right there, and what I had to do was push that. It's a spring in there also, so I had to put pressure back on it to get that bolt lined up in the groove. So I ended up sticking a pry bar on it, and I put the pry bar on this bar into that and pried this way. I know that's blurry, but that's the way I got that bolt to line up, and then with my other hand stuck in there and slid it through. So I got them in, the drive shaft's in the back. Now I just go worry about the front. And there you kind of see why I couldn't film that. Alright guys, so I've made a change of plans here. What it is, this is my U-joints, and they are absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with them. But I've checked with Kawasaki, and they have a replacement one that actually has a grease fitting. So I am going to change these while this is out, because it's such a big job. I've already got the one in the machine. I'm going to take it back out on the rear end of my drive shaft, and I'm just going to replace them while I'm here. just makes sense. All right guys, so there's actually nothing wrong with my other U-joints. All my needle bearings is fine, everything's good, but my way of thinking was two things. I've got like 1,300 miles on this machine, so I was thinking, let me go ahead and change them out anyway while I got it apart, since it's such a big task to get to these. And the second thing was, these come with grease fittings and the new ones don't, so I just have to pick which one I want. There's a 45 or a 90 degree. So that's what that was my way of thinking, is that I can grease these and if time to do a service or anytime I feel like I need to. So that's why I'm putting my U-joints in. So I'm not going to bore you with putting these in, because there's 1,000 videos on YouTube about that. And then I'm going to go ahead and film putting this in, because that's the hardest part. I believe it's going to be rough. Then after that, we'll pretty much wrap the video up. Alright, so here's a little issue I ran into with the grease fitting. This goes to the rear of the machine toward the engine. And right here, there's a cap. Well, the plug or the grease fitting hits that cap. So I'm going to have to take the U-joint out, flip it, and put it to the front and hope that it clears here. Okay, I'm getting ready to put my front diff in, and as you can see, the drive shaft, you can't even see it. So I figured out that there is a access panel over here, and it's right here. Okay, right there's the access panel, and as you can see, maybe you can see the drive shaft in there. So I'm gonna have to slide it in the front, and then I'm gonna have to get my wife to lift it up here and try to line it up into the tail shaft, I'm gonna call it, or the output shaft. All right, I'm gonna film this from this way, and I'm gonna try to put it in from the other side, because that's the way I had to take it out. So I don't know how good this is gonna do to help you out, but we'll see. What a job. Alright guys, the front diff is in, and it's definitely, this is about the only part that was a two-person job, is somebody to hold up the drive shaft on the inside through that access panel. So guys, from here, I'm sure that you can handle it. And if this helped you, don't be like a lot of people and use this one video and not subscribe, because I've worked for this. I think I've earned you hitting that little subscribe button and the bell and the thumbs up. So guys, thanks for watching, and really please subscribe and help me out. Thanks. See ya.